Hello, welcome to the first MuseScore Café. And this is actually take two because I needed to do some technical checks on the first one, and I think we are good. So hopefully everyone can hear me now and see me. And I'm just going to talk a little bit. I'm going to periodically check and see if anyone is saying anything on the chat, and if so, I will try to answer questions. I definitely encourage questions and comments. I think all I'm going to do today is just talk a little bit about my own path to MuseScore, what brought me here, what I like to do, and give you a little insight into my use of the program. So, what I'm going to do is talk about the very first thing that got me involved, and that was I actually had a blind student in a theory class that I taught, and I was looking for software that I could use to help work with her and do theory exercises and so forth. And in the process of looking for software, I came upon MuseScore, which at the time wasn't actually full-featured enough to do what we needed, but it was the first that I was aware that this software existed. So I got really interested in it, but had other things going on, and I sort of had it in the back of my mind that I needed to check this out more. And then a bit later, a few months later, I was commissioned to write a piece for this 8-piece, it was like a fusion jazz and classical ensemble. And I decided to see if I could use MuseScore to do this. I decided what I was going to do was take an orchestra piece that I had written a few years before when I was working on my master's in composition. And I would take this orchestra piece that was originally done in Finale, and I would create a reduction of it for this 8-piece jazz classical ensemble. And so I just want to talk a little bit about that process, because maybe some of you have some music in Finale and you're interested in getting it into MuseScore. So I'm going to switch over to Finale for a second. This is actually Finale Notepad, the free version. I no longer have the full version of Finale installed on my computer. And I'm going to just show you and maybe play a moment or so of the music. I thought that was how you play. Let me try that again. And there you have it. That is the Finale version of this piece. So even using the free version of Finale, you can load, which is Finale Notepad, you can load a full orchestra score. I don't think you can create one in Notepad, but you can load one that you've created previously, and you can export to Music XML, which is just fantastic. So from the File menu, I go to Music XML, Export, and I've already done this, so I won't do it again, but you can export a Music XML file, and then you can load that file in to MuseScore just using the regular open menu. You can load the score, and it's actually, well, I've already done it. It's this guy right here. So this is the exact same file that I just exported, and I'm going to use Control F to jump to rehearsal letter J, which is the same spot. And now I'm just going to show you that it looks, I'm going to make it a little smaller, Control minus, so you can see a little more on the screen. the same piece, and it came over very well. And, you know, I might have to make some manual adjustments to get it to look quite as good as it did in the original. I had to do a lot of manual adjustments in Finale also, but those same manual adjustments I'll need to, like, redo here. But, of course, I wasn't trying to write for an orchestra. I was trying to write for a smaller group, and so I wanted to do a reduction. So right now, I'm just going to switch over again to the chat and see if there's any questions coming in here. I don't see any, and so I don't know if that's because this isn't working or just because you're all spellbound. But I'm just going to keep going. So, because we can always watch this again, you can watch this even when it's not live. So I knew that I could take this Music XML import. This was, by the way, this was years ago. This was just as MuseScore 1.0 was getting ready to release. So I actually imported it into a pre-release version of 1.0. It was like a couple weeks before the release. It was a beta, but it was a very, very solid beta. It was like, this is probably going to be the 1.0 release. We'll just fix a couple more bugs. And so I decided I would use that to actually try to do this reduction. I furthermore decided that since using MuseScore was going to be a little unfamiliar to me because I really didn't know the program at all, that rather than starting with the XML file that I got in the orchestra version and then trying to throw away things, I was just going to start over from scratch. I think that was a good decision because when you import things from Music XML, there's often a lot of cleanup and things that you have to do, and you don't necessarily really learn to do note entry, and you get sort of a different sense of the program than if you just start from scratch. And I just wanted to start from scratch, and I think that was, for me, the right decision because it really allowed me to get into the program in a particular way. So I just started a brand new clean score for just the 8 instruments that were involved. I think it was 8. Now I need to look and tell you. But this is what I ended up creating. And I will again do go to rehearsal letter J so you can see the same spot. See, it was voice, violin, tenor sax, bass clarinet, vibraphone, piano, bass, drums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good, I'm not lying. It was 8 piece. So that same spot. So I just learned to do note entry, which, if you're used to Finale, is admittedly very different. If you're used to Sibelius, it's very similar. And if you're coming from Sibelius, MuseScore is very easy to get used to. I am going to just play a little section of this 8-piece reduction of it, just so you can, I don't know, get a sense of what I did. Version had, but do it using, oh, I see a comment. Good. So let me make sure that we can see. I think you have no comments because only me is watching. Oh, well, that's beautiful. So I do have my phone on for that also. Okay, my voice is too soft and the music is too high. That is excellent feedback. Thank you so much. I'm going to, my voice, I'll just turn down the audio on the computer. So thank you for that comment. All right, so audio down. I'll just go here. I'm not really saying anything important while the audio is playing anyhow. So I learned an awful lot about how the program works and did, really got inside and realized it did almost everything I needed it to do. In fact, it did everything I needed it to do, so some things were a little more awkward than other things. And actually, the very first thing that that I decided needed a little work was how chord symbols worked. If you're a jazz musician, you work with chord symbols a lot, and the original 1.0 version of MuseScore was extremely limited in how it handled chord symbols. It needed you to enter them a very specific way, and it wasn't a way that was, well, it wasn't what I was accustomed to, and it wasn't what a lot of other people were accustomed to. And so I did some work to make this a bit more flexible. And so we eventually had a 1.1 release of MuseScore, or was it 1.2? One of them that incorporated some of my changes that just made chord symbol entry a little more flexible. It still wasn't as good as it is now, but I made some improvements. Eventually, though, I really wanted to totally redesign the entire chord symbol system and did that. And I did that so you could type virtually anything you want in a chord symbol and it will be understood. So this is a lead sheet that I've created in which I can only just edit a chord here. Sharp 5, flat 9, sus. I'm just going to throw a whole bunch of stuff and then add, I don't know, 2. That makes no sense really, but as you see, it actually does allow me to enter that. Because it makes no sense, it's maybe not formatted ideally. The parentheses don't line up. I admit it's not perfect. But it's a whole lot better than before because it at least allows me to enter all sorts of things. I can enter that chord symbol as G little m7, and it understands as G minor 7 because this was set. I set an option that would allow this to convert everything to the way I like it, which is MI. The way it is in current releases, you can just type whatever you want and it accepts what you type. So I'm going to use undo to get back where I was because I don't want to accidentally save this version of things. Flip back over to the comments and just see if things are moving smoothly. Okay, they are moving smoothly. Great. So I decided I would add that, and I also then added some features to make this slash notation work better when you want to just fill a measure with slashes or display a rhythm, a particular rhythm for accompaniment. In particular, so for jazz charts, lead sheets, and combos and big bands, that's really an important consideration. And I do this now. I've created like full-scale big band arrangements. This is a recent one, well, relatively recent anyhow, that I created. So the other thing that I started to get really into was fine details of the layout. When I realized things like there were ties between notes that are really close together, that the ties were so short you couldn't see them, and this was really bugging me, and it was really bugging other people, including my wife. So she wasn't my wife at the time, but was a friend, and so I decided to work on seeing if I could improve that, so that I would make it so that ties would automatically be a certain length, even if notes were really close together. And I had to learn a lot about the MuseScore code as a programmer to understand how to do that. And once I got that working, then there were lots of other things that I wanted to get working a little better. I wanted to get accidentals. If you had a chord with a lot of accidentals, the order that the accidentals would show up in. I don't know if there's any in this piece that I could show you. But I can just go to a new piece. Oh, I can just look at Reunion and show you some here. Like this little combination of things here. I think the original version of MuseScore would have required manual adjustments to get these to line up correctly. Or if not that one, other similar cases would have. And this was bugging me, so I put a lot of work into improving that. Here's another one here where the accidentals need to line up a particular way, and I really studied up on the subject and worked on the code to get it to do that. So that was something else that I worked on, and then eventually other things, and then eventually, this piece, of course, I was asked to write a demo piece for MuseScore that would demonstrate all the features. This was still during MuseScore 1, maybe 1.2. That would, here, I'll make it a little smaller so you can see it. It was supposed to have, it was supposed to be a piece that would fit on one page, be for piano, would include dynamics, tempo changes, slurs, ties, tuplets, multiple voices, time signature changes, arpeggios, articulation markings, key changes. I wanted everything. Lots of bling was what I remember them asking me to do. And so I ended up creating this piece that was used as the demo for MuseScore for several years until MuseScore 2.0 came out. And so that was the piece that I wrote. The assignment was to come up with something that would just show off the features of MuseScore, but of course, as a musician, I wanted it to actually sound like music, and so I was pretty happy with the results that I got. A piece that had all these different elements in it in a very short period of time. I mean, a very short space, one page, and yet actually is, I hope, musically satisfying. I'll take another flip over to comments. Good. And so that was something else I did while I was doing all this development for 2.0. I produced this demo here. When 2.0 was getting ready to come out, I was also asked to write a book so that we would have like a really high quality manual to go along with MuseScore, and that is this book. And Mastering MuseScore you can get from my website, Mastering MuseScore Online. Actually, you get it from Amazon, but the easiest way to go there is to go to masteringmusescore.com, and then you'll see links to get there from Amazon. And you'll see lots of other resources that I've created. So that was a big undertaking while I was doing a lot of writing of code and debugging and adding features and stuff. I was also writing that manual. And I did this while I was teaching at a couple different schools. So I've now kind of backed away from the teaching a little bit and am focusing a little more on teaching MuseScore. So that's my focus for right now, is really just teaching MuseScore. I'm the director of education for MuseScore, so it is actually my task to teach users about MuseScore and hopefully to reach into schools and help schools educate their students in using MuseScore. So if you do go to masteringmusescore.com, you'll find lots of resources that I've developed, including one that you might be interested in also. I've mentioned some keyboard shortcuts, only a couple, but this is a little cheat sheet that I put together that you can download from my website. You just go there and I think I'm showing that to you. I should make sure that I'm actually, yeah, okay, you can see something. You can just download that cheat sheet and print it out yourself. I have a version in letter size paper format and in A4 format. So you can download and print the cheat sheet and keep it by your computer to help you know things like the shortcut for moving a note to the previous string in tablature mode is Control Up Arrow. There you go. One of the many shortcuts that's listed in there. So anyhow, those are some of the things that I've been doing with MuseScore, and I use this all the time now in my day-to-day musical life. That lead sheet that I showed you, that's a piece that I've recorded on one of my CDs. Actually, I think it was a friend CD that I recorded it on, and we used, you know, this chart for it. This big band chart that I played you, a big band that I performed this in concert a couple of years ago, and you know, other ensembles that I put together. I've written music for and using MuseScore, and I've done, you know, work for other people hiring me to engrave their scores for them, and I know there's a perception by some in the engraving community that MuseScore won't do as good a job as Finale or Sibelius, or it will be harder to get as good a result. This is not my experience. As someone, I think sometimes if you're really an expert in one program, then any other program feels like, oh, well, that's not as good, or I can't figure out how to work it. But once you really know your way around a program, as someone who did know his way around Finale and now knows his way around MuseScore just as well or better, yeah, there's really very little that I can't do with it and get really excellent results. So anyhow, that's a little bit of my story of MuseScore. I'm going to take another quick look, see if there's any questions, and it looks like there's no new comments. So I didn't have a preconceived notion of how long this cafe would go. I figure I would say some things, answer some questions if there were any, and let you all get on with your day. So the one thing I want to do is make sure I put in a plug. Give me one more moment to put in a plug for my website, Mastering MuseScore Online, which is here, and it's masteringmusescore.com. And in particular, I want to highlight the course Exploring MuseScore that we are offering Saturday, May 26th. This is going to be a live webinar. So the format will be like this, but hopefully with we'll have some additional chat features and some other things going on. Opportunity for discussion via like comments and so forth. And it will be more directed, like I'm going to be standing here talking to you about how to use MuseScore, running over its features and explaining how to do different things. It's a 2-hour course, and the regular price is $25, but I'm telling you, if you register using the code SAVE40, you will get 40% off. The first 40 people. We've got a few people already registered, so there's not as many seats left, but there's still quite a few seats left at that price. So when you go to do your purchase, the coupon code here, make sure you enter SAVE40. And when you apply that, you will see 40% is applied, and the total cost will be only $15. It will be well worth it for 2 hours of instruction from me, the Director of Education for MuseScore, the author of Mastering MuseScore, one of the developers of the program. There is no one who knows this program better. And so if you really want to get inside learning this program, this is the course for you. It's geared mostly for people who are kind of just starting out, have done a few things on their own, but are wondering, well, gee, I wonder what else it can do, and are there things that that I'm not doing right or that I could be doing better? And that's really the intent of this course, to really take someone who's just kind of started out with the program and is getting a sense of some things, but trying to get to the next level. That is the purpose of this course. So anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed this first inaugural MuseScore Cafe, and I hope to be doing these on a regular basis. Stay tuned, and I will post when the next one will be. And thank you very much.